This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Today on CityCast Denver, a Democratic Socialist TikTok star just won big at New York City's mayoral primary. So now local Democrats are wondering if the Zohran Mamdani playbook could work here. Me and Bree and one of our favorite guests are talking politics, plus a possibly very racist incident at a restaurant in the south suburbs, and all our wins and fails of the week. Today is Wednesday, July 2nd. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city with a brand new 20-year plan to build out a whole network of bike lanes. Unless a single business owner doesn't like it, and then there actually never was a plan, and I think you might have misheard me.
I know. I was like, wait, what? This administration has not been...
Weird timing, right?
They don't care about bike lanes. They just took one apart that costs it costs more money. I don't know. What?
I know. It was kind of funny that they rolled that out after all the removing bike infrastructure stuff.
Wrong move.
I've been still waiting for the bike lane on 15th to be completed. It's like the one that ends right at Larimer Square.
Yeah.
Like the worst spot.
You're literally going and you're having a great time. It's beautiful. You see these flags to your left, and all of a sudden you're merging in with traffic at full speed.
And it's like it's almost like a highway intersection. There's like 2 lanes that turn left, 2 that go straight. You turn there is no room for a bike and all that.
And there's no sounds like dismount, go to the left, there's a detour. They're like, no, This is where you find out what you're made of. Welcome to Denver, Colorado. Can you bike in the city or not?
God, I hope they're listening.
Yeah.
I heard Amy Ford on 9 News this week. She did an interview about this. And I thought her case for removing the bollards was it seemed like it was developed after the decision had been made and when the questions started getting asked, because she was saying that it was cheaper in the long run because the bollards are being damaged and that they had to replace 25 of them. And
that's the argument for even better infrastructure for bikes, because cars can't seem to stop driving over bollards. That's a driver problem. That's not a bike lane problem.
And the alternative is if they're not hitting the bollard, they're hitting a biker probably, right?
This is how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just,
it's not a good time to be a bike person in Denver
maybe we
right
could
now.
convince the governor to spend, instead of $29 million pedestrian bridge, $29 million of bike lane infrastructure.
I mean, I think that could be on the long list of anything else we could pay for with that money.
Well, you had an insight about that, Dee. We've been talking about the bridge all week, and we will get to the show at some point. But you had an insight about that, about how the debate that Denverites have been having about this bridge that Polis seems to have. He seems to really want it, and it just passed this committee hearing,
right?
8-4 votes. So he's not the only one that wants it, but also most people seem to not want it. And what you were saying something off mic.
I sometimes think in politics, it's like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And sometimes when folks really start going against something, the proponents of the idea, instead of taking that feedback, just dig in their heels.
Yeah.
So now people are becoming, no, I'm a pro-bridge person. I'm an anti-bridge person. So you're seeing this tribalism happen at the Capitol. And I think it becomes like, who are you to stop me? That's what happens when you offer critiques or criticisms in a way that sometimes doesn't,
You feel like maybe Polis is digging in his heels.
Yes. I think that's
because Kyle
way
put
to
the
put
screws to him a little bit.
The pro-bridge. The pro-bridge faction. It's going to be like the golf course thing all over again, but now it's going to be a bridge.
I mean, at least it's not about housing. I don't know. Everybody that I've asked, in my friend group that's sort of civically engaged, was kind of just resigned. It's going to happen, so whatever. We build stuff I hate every day, so. And I was like, okay. I mean, I kind of am almost there, too. Seems like it's going to happen. I don't love it, but also bigger things to worry about, I guess.
They know how they can get the CityCast team on board, I think, right? if they add to the bridges a bunch of blue animals.
That would be a Paul. That would.
be-
I
that
was
would
like, I am.
smart
I
of us.
actually don't.
Bree's
I
not on-
dislike
on board
Lucifer.
with my-
So
I'll get to this during my highs and lows, but I'm going to talk about the blue bear.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's get to the show. We could keep jibber jabbering about whatever.
well, it's Wednesday, Friday.
It's Wednesday, Friday. We're doing a Friday show here on Wednesday because it's a short holiday week at the beautiful 5280 Magazine Studios. There is some construction happening here.
Oh,
so
great.
the show is a little extra, it's a little sword of Damocles. When does the jackhammer start?
It always
for us
in
all
this
to
building.
think
It
about.
always feels like it's in the room with us. I'm like, how is that so loud? Also, we're
it
not
might
on
be.
video today.
No video. Don't look for
So.
us on YouTube. Bree Davies is here. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
And we have another great guest. He's our Capital insider, and he's back. Deep Singh Badesha, welcome back.
Excited to be here.
How are you?
Doing good on this Wednesday, Friday. Holidays are the best, aren't they?
They are. July 4th. While we're back on that, the schedule for the rest of the week, there is going to be a new episode on Thursday.
Yes.
Bree, do you want to tease that at all? You participated in this.
It's sort of a game show with all the hosts from all the other cities, and we're basically fighting to get to who has the best city to spend the summer in.
Mm.
So I won't tell you who wins, but I got pretty far. I may have
I
gotten
guess
to the
you just
top.
told
You
us
never
who
know.
didn't
You
win.
never know. You never know. There's
I
how
think
many
I
of
know
us?
now.
12? I'm just saying.
I think I know.
You don't know. I offered up some really interesting picks for what makes Denver special, and it was not Red Rocks. So we'll see how that went over.
Who chose? Because I don't know if obviously Denver's the best
First-
city. We all agree, but who are these jabronis who made the
The other
vote?
hosts.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I know, voting for our own cities. But it was really, really fun. And if you haven't heard an all host show before, you get to hear a little bit of what the other voices of the other cities sound like. And we're all very different. We come from different perspectives and we're different. I think about all the different types of hosts we have, like David Figler's a lawyer, Jacoby Cochran's a storyteller. We have someone that's a nurse during the day. So we all have different
I
perspectives.
love David Figler.
He's great.
Flavor Flav's lawyer.
Oh, yeah, that's
Flavor
right.
Flav's lawyer
So
is
he
the host of
co-hosts
CityCast Las
Vegas. Yeah.
I like listening to those all CityCast episodes with all the hosts because you don't really imagine Denver as like the city, the big boy in the room, like the one who's like running the show. But you can hear the tension in the room where everyone's like, damn, Denver's it.
Well,
They're
they
the
know.
top show.
They know.
Like Bree Davies is walking into these rooms metaphorically, virtually, and she's like the it girl. You're
you,
like
Jeep.
the
I appreciate
MVP of
that.
the CityCast National.
We're one of the first two shows
It's
that
nice.
they launched. So
Yeah.
thank you.
and the biggest.
That's true. In our hearts, we are.
But,
So you get to hear that.
Yeah, so that's
tomorrow.
coming. And then no episode on Friday. Happy 4th of July. I hope y'all are celebrating
Yes.
in whatever way you do. And then we'll be back with regular episodes on Monday. And then I also, before we get to our top story, I wanted to shout out McKenna Harford, who has been writing our newsletter the last 3 months. This is her last week with us.
It's been so fun.
She's just been great.
She's a wonderful writer.
Someone should hire her to do journalism in Denver.
She's great. She's a great news reporter. But that also means we get to welcome back our girl Peyton Garcia,
Mm-hmm.
who's had another baby, and he's very cute. He's in our meetings every day.
He was part of the Zoom yesterday.
He coos very loudly.
It
Oh,
was like,
baby's
we
cooing.
couldn't get any work done.
We couldn't because he was
Oh
like,
my God,
the
the
mic was
cooing.
just picking up his adorable cooing the whole time. It was amazing.
Nice.
But
If you have that, drop it at the end of the episodes like that. That's the spoiler.
We should make a
a compilation of
a coup bank.
Cool bang.
of his sounds. So she's back.
All right, our top story this week, the news. Really, the big news of last week, but the shine on the rose is the top story. When does it come off? Democrats in New York City just elected themselves a very shiny new mayoral candidate in the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani. But here in Denver, we've had almost exactly 2 years with our once exciting new mayor, Mike Johnston. And between the talk of economic shortfalls and city layoffs, his reputation is a little bit scuffed. So I think we should start with Mamdani because this is just like, I don't know, this is what everyone in my world has been talking about, this guy's surprise victory. What did you all think?
I guess lucky for CityCast and lucky for Denver, you conveniently had an Indian American Democratic Socialist who works in politics
With a,
ready to
And
go.
that's who we
a
called.
glorious beard as well.
So here I am. I wish I was as hot as Zohran though.
We all
Zohran is-
do.
Yeah.
I
The
know.
man is a hunk. That's how you win
It's
in
part of the
politics.
selling point. We always talk about this. Like, you can't ignore the fact that someone's attractiveness definitely plays into how they
I think
do
it's-
campaign wise.
It's definitely 50% like presence, 50% vibes, right? And then it's 50% policy. And I think that's why Zohran really did take off. And just to situate people about why a New York City primary might even be affected in Colorado. A New York City Democratic primary is actually larger than a Colorado Democratic primary. As we know, we're about 12 months out from June 2026, where everything's going to be up from the Senate all the way down to Treasurer to State House.
Governor,
A lot of positions. Zohran Mamdani was a little-known assemblyman, part of the Democratic Socialists of America, still a Democrat, and he started running for office in last October. So just about 8 months before that, and he was registering about 1% in the polls, virtually unknown. And he was going against Andrew Cuomo, former governor, son of a governor. His brother is a broadcaster on CNN, someone who had virtually universal name recognition, someone who was really out there. And he also went against about $40 million of attack ads. But Zohran, starting at 1%, having 1/5 the money of that, was able to go and beat, and not just beat by like an inch, but thoroughly win. And this is an electorate, again, that is bigger than Colorado and spends more money. So what this is telling me, that in Colorado, if you have a vision, if you're running on affordability, if you're running on things that talk to working class individuals, you'll see you can make it happen, right? That's really what it is. It's kind of a Cinderella story in that way. But I think it's also ushering in a new era in the Democratic Party. I think this is the future of the Democratic Party. I think we're going to see a lot more primaries. I was texting people nonstop about Hickenlooper, and after Zohran's win, a lot of people were like, there will be a challenge.
Interesting. Bree, what do you think? How does this change the way you feel about local politics?
Man, I mean, I got so excited because, again, like, he was talking about things that, like, I want other legislators to talk about, like publicly funded grocery stores. I'd never thought about that, but I know how grocery stores end up in neighborhoods, and it's about demographics and college degrees and all these weird things. And he wanted to like sidestep with this great idea to solve the quote food desert problem and free, universal child care and these things that like I want at least people to talk about. And I don't know if Colorado's even remotely there. I think the thing that I had a little hope in is that apparently 30,000 people showed up to see Bernie Sanders talk. And I saw Bernie Sanders like 8 years ago, and there was a third of that. So maybe folks are hungry for it.
24,000, according to the organizers of the campaign.
Well, at least double what it was before. And he's not running for anything.
So if you actually look at Zohran's base, Zohran actually did really well across the board with almost all demographics. And again, Andrew Cuomo is someone who's been in the Democratic Party in New York for a long time. But Zohran's number one voters that he was really getting was young folks and folks with higher education degrees. Denver is one of the most educated cities in all of America, and Colorado is the second or first most educated place in all of America. If you actually look at the demographics, Zohran was winning the most, or actually the exact demographics that are in Colorado. So it almost seems like Colorado is actually more ripe for this, which does make sense. If you look back into the 2016 and 2020 elections, Bernie Sanders did really, really well in Colorado. And these are the type of people, and just imagine yourself, right? You did everything by the book. People said, put your head down, work hard, go to college, save money. And you're like, hey, I have this good job. I did what you did. I did what you told me to do. I went to college. I stayed out of crime. I didn't do these things. I can't afford a house. I can't afford to have kids. These are the people who were promised something, who feel the pain sometimes the most. And they're the people who really vote, right? And of course, the working class people in this country, if you're poor, if you're working class, I grew up low income, you kind of already know you have a raw deal. But it's these people who thought they didn't have a raw deal who are realizing it right now. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. I'm in this.
This is the conversation I've been hearing, but maybe this is a hot take. I think Colorado's been ahead of the curve on this. I think Colorado's been having the affordability conversation. This has been the message of our Democratic Party for the last 10 years. Every time you hear Jared Polis talks, he says, number one, my goal is to save Coloradans money. I think the difference with Zohran is the way that he's delivering his message and with his personal presentation. You know, our people, our Democrats, it's still the old establishment people, but they've adopted this message. And there's other leaders who are already talking about all of these other innovative policies, well, quote unquote innovative. They've been around forever. They just have been debated, like rent control. Like we've had that debate. It's not new. Like it's already here. We've already had the affordability conversation. We already voted for Bernie. Like these lefty millennials are already having the influence that we saw in the Zohran election.
But who is the candidate that the Colorado Democratic Party is going to put forth that is that kind of candidate? That's the struggle I have, is like, you can have all the voter support in the world, but do you have the right candidate?
Yeah, to electrify people the way you did. I don't see that here either.
I don't at all. I feel like the Colorado Democratic Party is missing that part of the message.
If you look at the numbers of DSA DSA to New York City. So Democratic Socialists of America, DSA. I'm a member of it. I have been, helped them run campaigns. Very excited about those folks. Don't agree with everything that my comrades say, but I agree with them on most things. And that's something that Zohran said too, right? Is if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me. If you agree with me on 12 out of 12 issues, see a psychiatrist. I think that's such a brilliant line.
That is funny.
But DSA in Denver has a quite sizable presence. So in New York City, it's about one out of 1,000 people is in DSA. And in Denver, it's actually 1 out of 800. So we have a large presence that's ready. And you saw this in the last city council
elections. This is what
elections.
I'm saying. We are we're ahead of the curve on this.
Where is the
you saw this in terms of like,
machine.
there was a working families party slate and there was a city council DSA slate. Sarah Parody was on that. Chantel Lewis was on that. They both won. Serena was involved with the working families party slate. Their mayoral candidate was Lisa Calderon, who got 3rd place, which was still a surprise 3rd place. A lot of people didn't think Lisa Calderon would have performed that well. I think a lot of people will be looking into what 2027 looks like. And this goes back to what you were saying is like, how is Mike Johnson doing and how is the city reacting to Mike Johnson? Right now in New York City, you have someone like Eric Adams, who is caught up in corruption scandals and seen as someone who is serving themselves instead of the people. So far, what I've seen out of Mike Johnson is he does have his critics. He has his critics on the right, the center, and the left. But from what I can see from normal people, they do like that Mike Johnson is trying and then Mike Johnson is doing well. Like the other day at the Pride Festival, as Mike Johnson was walking down the streets, he was sort of greeted as a celebrity. There was like a lot of cheers.
Good response?
Yeah, really good response. Like he got cheers. He was going up to people. People were giving hugs. People were taking selfies. You two can probably speak to the fact that when he came to the CityCast event, that it was well received.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these are also groups where you'd expect him to be received well.
I've known Mike for a long time, and Mike's always had like a progressive liberal affect to him. When he ran for governor, he ran on free and affordable college, like 2 years of free college in return for public service. And he ran on like a quote unquote, like being carbon neutral by 2040. He did run on some pretty progressive big ideas. Does he take this win in New York City as a permission to be like, you know what? Let me go a little bit more to the left. Like, let's swing for the fences. Let's do some bigger, bolder stuff.
No, see, I think he's doing the exact opposite. This was my whole framing of this segment is the shine is off the rose. Because anytime, like Zohran's going to see this, if he gets elected in November, he puts these city-owned grocery stores, when you actually start trying to do that,
you're
going to step on a few toes.
Absolutely.
You're going to,
it's a
when
large
you try
industry.
to make big changes to things, you're going to make some enemies. And Mayor Mike is seeing that right now when we have this economic shortfall, we have the tax revenues shortfall, and he's completely changed his tune and he's shifted all of his attention toward business owners and trying to open the city for business because he feels like he needs to do that. It feels like the priority right now. I feel like the opposite, if anything, is happening right now in the city of Denver.
So Denver Post, I would advocate all the listeners take a look at this too. Denver Post just posted a survey that you can go on their website and it literally says, did you vote for Mike Johnston? What neighborhood do you live in? And then they ask you, what's your opinions on him? And they're gathering as much feedback as they can to be like, Mike Johnson's been there for about 2 years now. What has he done? So if you do have some opinions, one, call our hotline.
Oh, yeah. No, first call the hotline.
Call the hotline
Forget
first.
this survey. Get this survey out of here.
500-5418. It is open all the time.
But then
call or text.
But after that, I would really love to see what this Denver Post survey is going to come up with. So if you go to the Denver Post website, you can kind of take a look. I'm in the position where I don't think it's going to be as bad as the people who are like always going to be critics of like the mayor were going to be like people who are really plugged in. When I talk to people, most people are like, yeah, the city feels a little bit better than it did 2 years ago, right? And sometimes that's just vibes, right? You inherit the large macroeconomics of your time and you can't really control it. So you either like sink or rise with that. It'll be fascinating to see.
It will be interesting. Tell you what, one thing he is not doing and he didn't campaign on is TikTok. And that's a huge thing we got to talk about with Zohran is he is the politician that mastered the medium for the moment. In the same way that Trump did in 2016, Obama did in 2008, Zohran was so good on these short form videos where he's speaking to camera. He's doing this halal cart video, just like brilliant, talking to people. Why is the halal $10 and not $8? Would you rather pay $8? Obviously. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. That's what I don't see in Denver right now. I don't see anyone who's got anything close to that.
And this is a plug for the art community. So Zohran actually, like a lot of Indian Americans, thought they could be a rapper for a second. I skipped the rap phase. I tried stand-up comedy, still didn't work out. But, Zohran had rap videos online, but he comes from an artistic background because his mother, Mira Nair, is an indie film producer. She actually filmed and directed Mississippi Masala that had Denzel Washington in it. Great film. Check it out. Mississippi Masala. So he does come from this like artistic world. And if you just look at the logos and the attention to details, it really does like add like a new era of it. It feels like the same way like Obama shifted the conversation, right? Like in 2006, if you had gone to people and be like, hey, you know what the Democratic Party needs after losing against Bush with Kerry? We need someone named Barack Hussein Obama. Like Democratic consultants would be like, get off, like they want to listen to you, right? But Barack Obama came in, really changed the conversation, had a lot of art come in, had a lot of energy come in.
The iconic Shepard Fairey piece. Yeah, like that is burned into people's brains as who he is and what he looks like. And that does represent a lot of an era of artists and an era of people that were young at that time. That was the thing that got them mobilized. Yeah. And I know a lot of artists that got mobilized during that time.
There's definitely this energy. Like Democrats right now have a lower approval rating than Donald Trump and Republicans. Think about that. But they're the party out of power, but they have a lower approval rating, and it's significantly lower with their base. Their base is mad at it, right? So there's going to be waves of change. I thought the 2026 primaries could have been boring, but with this upset in New York City, I think it was
a wake-up call, I think.
It's a wake-up call. Things are going to shift.
Across the country, yeah.
Well, where do you see the energy, Bree? Do you see it from anyone?
I mean,
definitely. Charisma or anything?
It's like from a candidate perspective?
Yeah,
or from
anywhere, anyone in the political realm.
I mean, I see it mostly in the streets with protesters and folks that are going that route and doing that work. I don't necessarily see it coming from any lawmaker right now.
Yeah.
And I think they're missing a huge moment. There are a couple out there that are wrangling social media to talk frankly about issues like ICE, but we don't have anybody doing what he did in capturing, again, like you said, the TikTok thing, that's huge. It's not just about being on TikTok. It's about knowing how to make content for TikTok audiences. And like Olivia Julov on our team, our producer, she's super tapped into TikTok and she sees things all the time that would never come across my feed. And like, you got to be a master at that. Social media is a brand new game than anybody that was doing it during the Obama era. As someone who came up during that era, it's a totally different ballgame, but it's an opportunity. I worry that the Colorado Democratic Party is missing that opportunity.
This is where I feel like Colorado's behind the curve. And you were talking about demographics earlier. I was thinking about this, like, you know, New York, with the industries there, like this is the communications capital. Like these young people, like they know these are the industries they work in. Here in Colorado, I don't know if we're as savvy. I don't know if we're as like, I don't know if I see that.
That's what's so beautiful about these mediums is they're very democratic in who can access them. I mean, we can't control algorithms to see who sees what you do, but there's definitely creators out there that local politicians or political hopefuls could work with. I know people running studios right now making these things. Like, go talk to them. They are out there. Talk to artists. Like, getting artist buy-in is something that's really underrated. Artists are not just connectors in their own community. They connect with people outside of the community. I think it's an opportunity. And I do think that if Colorado Democrats are not careful, they are going to miss this boat.
Who would you, if you were Shad Murab, the head of the Colorado Democratic Party right now, we just saw that they started their own TikTok account. Obviously, they're thinking about it. They're looking at candidates. If you were him, who would you talk to?
You go on all the local podcasts. There's that one. I'm not just us. Like
go on CityCast.
No, I'm thinking about there's like a drag performer like Zacharina Jenny Ho. Her show is amazing. I would love to see him on there. I would love to see him. My friend Jeremy Pape does Welcome to It Studios. He mostly talks exclusively to folks in the hip hop community here in Denver. I would love to see a candidate show up on his couch. Like, talk individually. Start small. Start with small communities that are already existing on the internet and start connecting there.
And there is definitely a Denver TikTok bubble. Like if you get onto and search Denver TikTok, there's a bunch of creators that have anywhere from 10,000 to 150,000 followers. Some of them are really big, like this gal named Morgan from Denver. She's 2 million followers. And all she does is she talks about her nights out in Denver. So it's interesting. There is an ecosystem here. It's not as developed as New York City is.
For sure.
And it'll be interesting if that becomes something that becomes in player. There are some folks who's trying, though, I would say. Jared Polis, he comes across as someone who's not made for video, but he doesn't really do videos in a Zohran type of way, but he leans into Reddit. You know, he leans into the whole Casa Bonita, South Park thing.
He's
makes the
authentic.
Jokes.
He knows where he can present himself as himself.
And not look like he's performing.
David Seligman has really tried on TikTok lately, on Instagram. He had
Attorney
SZA.
General candidate.
He had SZA just like retweet him, or repost him, which is really fascinating. So he's been trying those like man on the street interviews.
You working with David's campaign?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm an
Just
independent.
have to ask.
No, I'm an independent person.
I also just think there's an assumption that a certain type of person can't necessarily make it on social media, when in reality, it's like Polis is being his authentic self. It's what I think made Bernie so attractive to young people. He might be my grandpa's age, but he's saying the things that I care about. And he's always had the same message the whole time. He did that public access show forever. His wife ran a city-funded DIY venue. Like, he had the cred. And like, you can take that cred and take it really far, but you have to be yourself the whole time. And there's so much performance from politicians in a way that comes off as inauthentic to people that, I don't know, I think it also it relies on people leaning into being honest about who they are.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
And then at that point, you have to be someone who is as charismatic as Zohran, which is not everybody.
No, it's not. I mean, you can be attractive.
He's a special guy.
You can be smart, but if you don't have charisma, it looks terrible on camera. So he was great. Yeah, he had it all.
Anyway, we want to hear from you. Tell us what you think. 720-500-5418. The Mamdani hotline is open. 720-500-5418. We're going to go to a break, and then we got a really interesting story out of the tech center to talk about.
This episode is brought to you by the City and County of Denver Technology. Ever have a question about the city you wish you could just text and immediately have it answered? Enter Sunny, Denver's 24/7 chatbot. Sunny is a smart, AI-powered chatbot that helps you find your trash pickup day, report a broken streetlight, track street sweeping, and more. Texting 439-311. Hi. Oh, dang, she's fast. She just popped right back in there. Okay, so she can help me out with whatever. Also, if this is an emergency, please call 911. That's helpful, thank you. For potholes or potholes. So I could just put like pothole on Alameda. Those are a real problem. Pothole on Alameda. Alameda and Tejo. Oops. Autocorrect. Autocorrect is making it really hard for me. That's all right. Sunny speaks 72 languages and responds instantly by text or WhatsApp and never makes you wait on hold. No apps, no forms, no personal info. Just help when you need it, totally anonymous. All you have to do is text HI to 439-311 or message 877-53-SUNNY on WhatsApp. Visit denvergov.org/sunnybot. Your city, just a text away. Thanks, Sunny.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. Like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
All right, we're back. Our hot topic this week is ice, sort of. On Saturday, a local food influencer who goes by Unfocused Foodie posted a picture of a receipt to his Instagram from a job that he was doing at the Breakfast Place Morning Story in the Tech Center. The receipt included a single line item that read La Migra, which is a slang term that refers to ICE or the U.S. Border Patrol. This whole thing was blown up on social media. It's kind of an interesting story. I thought we might talk about it. Bree, what did you make of this situation?
It just feels like something someone did who has no concerns or stake in a game. Like it feels like a mean throwaway in a moment when things are genuinely terrifying for so many folks who live in this country. I don't know what your social media feed looks like, but mine is every day. ICE apprehending folks at Home Depot, ICE apprehending ripping children out of their parents' hands. Like, this is not a joke. And to see it kind of treated that way, or at least we don't know the context, but I don't know, if I was that gentleman, I would take it personally that they were making an assumption about my presentation in the world. And it just felt so shitty. I'll just be honest. Felt shitty.
My social media feed is mostly glamour shots of pizza from around the world. That's what I go for. I've got a curated feed of just beautiful pizzas.
It's just disappointing to see this in the political climate. I mean, we've talked about this on the show before, the rise of political violence, but political violence also first starts somewhat as these messages,
cheap shots.
These people who feel like they can just be like, "Hey, why are you in my neighborhood?
Yeah,
hey, what are you doing?"
The privilege of that.
I will say it is weird that, like, if you read the Instagram post from this person, they said that it showed up on their receipt, so there has to be a button on the kiosk or on their
point of sale
system that says it, and then they have to click it. So it's fascinating why they had that. And then there was another interesting thing. I was reading the Reddit comments, and on the Reddit comments, someone said this, which I thought was maybe an interesting take on the whole situation. They said, "I'm really hoping it's because they have undocumented employees in the kitchen, and if ICE shows up, that the ticket gets sent back to alert them so they can bounce. I know of a restaurant in Boulder that has a button for that reason," which almost speaks to a different type of dystopia where it's like you have to alert your staff through a button or a system that you have to do it. Either way, it's shitty both ways.
Yeah, I saw that comment too. We talked about this before, Paul, because we both came across that comment as well. And it did make me think a little bit. I guess my assumption working in restaurants is you often get to label your tables. And it's just like table number 4 or like booth in the back or whatever. And you can type whatever you want into there. So that's where I assumed someone took the liberty to type La Migra. The argument with, was this a warning? If I was a server, I saw that happening, I would run back to my line and talk to my cooks directly and be like, get out of here. Like, I don't know if I buy that argument. I just feel like it's not like you couldn't communicate that another way. I mean, I might be overlooking this, but I just didn't buy that argument.
I did hear from, I talked to a bartender friend about this idea. Apparently, he told me that they do this at Garden Grace too. There's the restaurant here locally has a signal that they have like established in the restaurant. If ICE shows up, this signal gets, I don't know how they communicate it, but they have this same system.
Okay.
So I don't know. I would like to hear from other restaurant people because I know that this worry is out there. I know that ICE in other cities has shown up to restaurants to bust people because kitchens are a place where.
And let's highlight why we're in this scenario right now is the federal administration has decided that ICE no longer has to wear uniforms. They wear plain clothing.
Yeah, they're masked. They're masked intruders. Like,
you would not know if ICE was abducting you or if random strangers were kidnapping you off the streets, right? Yeah. Because they're not uniformed. They're not wearing anything. So it's very unfortunate this is happening, is that we're having this discussion. But sorry, Brie, what you were saying?
Well, I was just going to say that, like, that's interesting, Paul, because again, working in other work environments, like we had a code for shoplifters. We had a code, like you picked up the phone and said, I need brown bags.
You're talking about the Gap.
Yeah, the Gap. And like, I need more bags at the register. But like, the difference was it wasn't customer interacting or customer facing. And that's what was weird to me about this was like a customer is now in this loop. And that doesn't seem like that to me was where it felt a little bit like, I don't know.
Yeah. So the specifically Unfocused Foodie, his own account on his Instagram, he said he saw staff at the restaurant point at the receipt and laugh. He said he asked the bartender if it was because he was Mexican and had an accent. And she apparently claimed it was, quote, just a button on the point of sale system.
That is wild.
That led to La Migra being put on the receipt, and that she said she didn't know what it meant.
Certain people with certain privileges are the only people in a business that can put a button on a screen that everyone uses, by the way.
This is his point, too. He said, pretending not to know, that's privilege. In this political climate, there's no excuse. I've never had something this blatant happen to me before. I sat in my car for half an hour afterward, just stunned. Sounds like a horrible.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to him.
He was doing a job, too, is the other aspect.
They were essentially paying him to promote their restaurant.
Which to me is another interesting part of this, which is like, it talks about social media and how, like, in 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like, the person who does your marketing for your business is like part of your business. That's your employee. But because of the way social media works and how we've kind of allowed, late stage capitalism to change the way that we work, this guy is not an employee, so he doesn't get to be part of the same community as this bartender. He doesn't have the same protections in the workplace, and yet he is a worker. This is a workplace concern.
There was a statement that came out from the owners of the restaurant.
Yes.
They are taking it seriously.
Which actually is what brought a lot of attention to it, because people then were like, why are you posting this? What is this? I saw that a lot on, which I understand they had to do, but it's just interesting how it then snowballs something.
It's nice for them to take responsibility. It seems like they're taking it seriously. So shout out to, who's the owner? James P. Gregory.
Yep, that's it.
That is a restaurant owner's name. There was ever a restaurant owner's name. James P. Gregory. No, it seems like they're holding an emergency team meeting. General managers are going to it, taking steps to address it, trying to regain the trust and confidence of the community. So, I mean, maybe they'll post why they have the button and what the reason is.
Yeah.
That's what we all want to know, right?
Yeah.
What's the deal?
It just goes back to what customers are involved in and what employees are involved in. And like, I have worked in some restaurants. There is some not great behavior happening behind the scenes that all of us participated in, but it didn't involve the customer. And that's where I think it's much more complicated than, I don't know.
I'm looking at my notes here. I have to correct something from earlier. I said Garden Grace had this signal. It was Williams and Graham.
Oh, the speakeasy.
Bar. Yeah, that's speakeasy. Sorry about that.
Different.
Very different. But I wanted to
both great though.
Take your word for it. I've never been to Garden Grace.
Garden Grace is great. Shout out Troy Gard.
It's nice. Isn't he the one that moved to Houston?
Yeah, actually, I just saw him the other day.
I don't like that.
I just saw him the other day at hashtag. So he's like back and forth.
So here's what I wanted to talk about, because I listened to an interview with the director of immigration enforcement for Trump. His name's Tom Homan. I don't know if his official title is immigration czar or whatever, but he had an interview with the New York Times. I recommend listening to this guy talk, hearing why he's doing it. Like you'll learn a lot about how this is happening and why it's happening the way it is. His argument for why ICE is going into, quote, neighborhoods to do these busts at like restaurants and at houses, he said the reason why they're doing that is because, quote, sanctuary cities aren't letting them go to the jails to pick up people who have criminal records directly. That's what his case was.
I mean,
I thought that was fascinating.
It's absolutely bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, you can justify it all you want.
Immigrants commit crimes at lower levels than native citizens do. And because of that, there was never going to be this like huge wave of arresting criminals. You could go out there and arrest the criminals that are committing these crimes and deport them. But then after that, you're going to have to start grabbing grandmas and like young kids and people who have been in this country for 10 or 20 years, who've worked hard jobs in the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, on farms, right? People were saying that this was going to happen the whole time when they were saying, hey, we're going to only deport the illegal criminals, right? We knew this was going to happen. And unfortunately, we're in this situation. Hopefully, Denver doesn't see an LA style crackdown where people coming through these neighborhoods. If you remember, like Mike Johnson, one of his first things that he was saying as mayor is that they would have a resistance. I think Denver would. If ICE was coming through our neighborhoods,
absolutely.
There's one other piece of this situation I wanted to talk about, which is just one of my personal fascinations, which is the user reviews aspect of this Morning Story situation. So I looked at Google and a few of the other places where you can do user reviews. This place is getting review bombed, this Morning Story. There are 16 new 1-star reviews on Google. There's a bunch of new ones on TripAdvisor, mostly from folks with Hispanic last names, as you might expect. But when I looked at Yelp, I saw a notification I'd never seen before. A pop-up on the page for Morning Story that said, unusual activity alert. This business recently received increased public attention, which often means people come to this page to post their views on the news rather than actual consumer experience with the business. So they've temporarily disabled posting reviews.
Also,
and you can't post.
The imagery on this pop-up is to
like TV
news vans. Like the media is doing something here, so we're temporarily pausing this ability.
Yeah. Deep, what do you think about that as a policy for Yelp?
I think that's actually probably a smart policy. I mean, at the end of the day, AI is going to have some good things like this, maybe some detection of people who are going to go and just like rate places. I never have really relied on restaurant reviews, so I'm not someone who puts a lot of stake into them. I'm sure people do.
You're not looking at the star ranking?
I have never opened my app and be like, hey, this is 3.5 stars on Google. Must suck.
Huh.
I mean, there's a joke that all the best Asian food is always 3.5 stars because 3.5 stars means the service was bad for white people, but the food was good enough. And that's what you want to really aim for, right? It's like
that makes absolutely.
Open up your Google Maps app. You're going to go to Federal. You're going to search for Vietnamese food.
Yeah.
Sure, some places over 4 stars are delicious, but those 3.9 stars, 3.8 stars, those are the people who are only making your food. And they're not going to say hello to you. So it's
No.
going to hand you a delicious bag of food.
You are going to have to beg them for anything else you
But it's
need
gonna
after
be
the food has been
delicious.
dropped off.
Same
But it
with-
is amazing.
I'm looking
Same
at
with
Jay's
Aurora.
Noodles. Jay's Noodles Star Thai, a great restaurant. 4.2 stars.
I was just
going to
say,
on
their
Yelp.
service-
4.7 on
Their
Google.
service is incredible, though. It is an outlier for sure. It's the couple that owns it. She runs the entire front of the house show, and he does the entire back of the house show. It's different than, I would say, look up Fadui. That would be I love Fadui. Some of my favorite food. They do not want you in there.
4.4 stars on 1.9 thousand. I don't know about
I'm
this system,
surprised.
Deep. I don't know about this.
Maybe you're not going to the hidden gems. Maybe your filters just have 4 stars.
I need to know about these hidden gems.
Some of these are really game though. I mean, like sometimes when you open some Indian restaurants, that Indian restaurants are pretty popping in the Denver metro area now. But you'll click an Indian restaurant and be like 10,000 reviews. I'm like, definitely hired some bots.
Yeah,
to give you a lot of
of course they're gaming it. I would
Just-
do the same.
How much stakes should we put into reviews? But I understand that people were going to Morningstar and trying to give them a 1 star because you're trying to do something, right? People
Right.
feel this need when they see injustice in the world
to do something immediately.
about it, right? And if you're far away from Morningstar, you're gonna, in solidarity, you're like, I'll give them a 1 star review.
A lot of the 1-star reviews are from people in California. I know. I looked through.
Yeah.
Shout out to cross
I
state
guess so.
solidarity.
Hashtag resistance. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like the reviews should reflect this. Part of me is, I don't actually know how I feel about this policy. I can't decide, but I feel like Morningstar's reviews should say something about what happened here. If there's this cultural problem inside this restaurant that they had this issue, like, I would want to know that if I'm going to look at these reviews.
I guess I just know what review bombing has done to like a business that I care about, and I do think
Not
it
good.
sucks.
Can you leave reviews on CityCast?
Yeah, you can.
Of course you
And
can.
everyone should go leave a good one right now.
I know. I was like, please leave a
Search
good one.
CityCast Denver on Google.
All right, we're going to look at that during this ad break, and then we're going to be back with wins and fails of the week.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Hey, I'm Mark Ronson.
And I'm Ray.
To celebrate 150 years of Audemars Piguet, we've teamed up to create something timeless.
A tribute to legacy, rhythm, and craft, with a very special connection at its heart.
A soundscape from 2 cities, 2 perspectives, and 1 shared vision.
Introducing our brand new song, Suzanne.
All right, we're back. Hope you all enjoy your long July 4th weekend. We're going to do Rocky Mountain highs and lows, aka wins and fails of the week. We each brought a recent local something that we think is a win and another we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to start with fails, like we always do. Bree.
My fail is that poor Bar is finally falling into the vortex that it is hovering over. So this bar, also known as Karaoke Cafe, which is its real name and no one's ever called it that, is the most dive bar I've ever hung out in regularly. It has the worst bathrooms in all of Denver. There's a scene in Train Spotting where he goes to the worst toilet in Scotland. Just Google it. You'll get a gif of the most disgusting bathroom. And that's how I feel about Bar's bathrooms.
Oh,
But I still love that place. I don't go there anymore because I don't drink, but for reasons. But I played some of my favorite shows there. I saw some of my favorite shows there. The bartenders always treated me like absolute garbage, and I still loved it. But recently, we're talking about it because they've been closed since last year when they had a fire, which is a huge bummer. But also, yeah, earlier this week, their wall fell in. Like literally, the wall just fell down. So I think it's just going to be a long, sad, painful death for a place that's really special to a lot of people for all kinds of weird reasons. But I just wanted to give a little I'm sad. I'm sorry, Bar. I love you. Even though a lot of terrible things have happened in there, it's a great place.
Bye-bye, Bar.
Bye-bye, Bar.
Bye-bye,
I don't see them bouncing back from this. And I don't know. I know there's others of you out here who have the same conflicted, weird experiences that I have at this place over the last couple of decades, but it holds a special place in my heart, and I'm just a little sad. It's falling apart. I'll share some photos on my Instagram if you follow me of some shows I played there because it was a lot of fun. But
If those walls keep falling down, they're just going to have to call it bar.
it's true. Finally, it'll just be Bar.
Just bar. Deep, you want to give us your fail?
Unfortunately, update from a story that we had talked about a couple weeks ago is there's been a death from the Boulder firebombing, the anti-Semitic firebombing that happened, one of those political attacks. Karen Diamond, 82 years old, passed away from the wounds she suffered. Heart goes out to that community. Heart goes out to Boulder. It's just rough in Colorado. It seems like we just have a lot of this stuff that happens, unfortunately, and we got to eradicate hate everywhere.
Yeah. Heart goes out to her family and the community for sure, because this has been a really traumatic experience, and then to lose someone makes it just even that much harder. So,
all right. My fail this week is sort of part of an ongoing story. We've been talking about the 16th Street Mall reopening, revitalization project that the city is doing.
First I'm hearing about this.
I know. It's like we haven't been talking. We haven't certainly been talking about it at nauseum.
Also, I think you mean 16th Street.
Sorry, you're right. No, I should use the actual formal official name, which is the 16th Street, 16th Street. They have this busking program. The Downtown Denver Partnership has a program where they're working with musicians. This is something we talked about wanting to see more of. More musicians, more music, more liveliness out there. And the Downtown Denver Partnership has this, and they've been permitting people to go out there and play. I was talking to a friend who has gotten one of these permits and gone out there to play, and he alerted me to an issue, which is, for me, I think a fail, which is the permits are for very specific places and very specific contexts on 16th Street. Like
very controlled environment.
Highly controlled. It's these side park areas. There's the one that were probably once parking lots. And he was telling me one of the places that he was contracted to play, he was not allowed to orient himself towards the street, which he said was quite lively. Lots of people up and down and wanting to be paying attention.
Yeah.
But he had to be looking at an empty open area and be playing music to this empty open space, which felt very weird to him. And I observed the same. I was walking down, as I do all the time now. I saw like a 12-piece brass band playing this huge big song to nobody in particular. And
just to like a wall,
just to an empty area of like empty chairs. And then across the street, there was like two tourists smoking a joint openly, just in these camping chairs, like sort of watching. It was very weird. And it made me think, this busking program, I mean, they're doing a lot of things. Some of them are going to work. Some of them are not going to work so well. This busking program, it feels like they're trying to use these artists to like specifically Band-Aid problem spots instead of letting the artists just like do organically what they would do, which is like find the right spot for them, tap into the energy that's there, and create the feeling that we want.
This is the crux of the problem with 16th Street Mall is we'll never let that down. I'm sorry. It sounds ridiculous to say 16th Street. Then everybody's like, where are you talking about? I'm like, oh, the mall. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, you cannot control a downtown into the thing that you want it to be. This lack of the ability for things to be even remotely organic is what's keeping it from being an actual downtown. You have to have some spontaneity.
Like you got to try to point people in the right direction a little bit.
We have a terrible habit of over-regulating stuff and adding way too much red tape on things that don't need red tape. I have never once walked through a city and been like, there's too many buskers here, too much music. I feel like it adds to an atmosphere that you especially want out of those downtown areas, right?
What do you think makes the subway amazing? Bucket drummers.
I mean, it's an interesting.
I love them.
It's an interesting fabric that you have in like an urban setting in an urban area.
It has to disturb you a little bit. I'll just be honest. It cannot be all pleasant, or you are not in a real city. I'm sorry. If it's just made for you to feel good, you're in Disneyland, baby, and this is not Disneyland. This is not what you're getting. It has to be a little bit of friction, personally.
That's
why Colfax rules.
Another way that you see this often happens with like red tape is around food trucks and where food people can set up. I feel like people who do food trucks, late night food, set up those food stands, they know where the people are going to be.
They know where they need to be.
And then somehow some bureaucrat in some office who apparently has never walked 16th Street or never been downtown in Lodo at 2 a.m. is like, oh yeah, you know what truck should be? Right here, up this hill. And you know where busker should be? Facing this wall.
That's not how it works. I did reported on this at one point. I reported on fashion trucks. This was a big thing like probably 8 years ago. There was like 3 or 4 trucks that were going around selling vintage clothes. And they knew where they needed to be, where people wanted to go shopping. But that put them in direct conflict with the stores that were selling clothes. It was like, and all the shop owners complained to the city and said, I got these fashion trucks outside my shop where I'm selling fashion crap, and I can't have that. Like, we paid a lot of money to set up here. This is valuable real estate, and they can just park here for a day.
Everyone just wants a free market until the competition comes. They're like, no, rig it for me.
I'm like, sorry, come to my side of town. You will see food trucks and all kinds of setups. Like, the community has figured out how to do it, and business owners. My neighbor has now started letting the taco truck that parks next to his house plug into his house. It's been amazing. Now we don't have to hear the generator all the time. Like, he made a compromise with this taco truck. And it's like, just let things, it's all about communication, but like, we cannot control everything.
This is so interesting to me to hear the free market argument from you two.
Well, it's like,
and I'm here on the side of government regulation.
Okay, True. Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist, he said we have too much regulations on small business. He said he would cut fees, fines, and red tape on small businesses by 50%. And, maybe this is it. The Democratic Socialists who are running 2027, we're going to say a taco truck on every corner, a busker wherever you need to hear music.
I mean, this is where I live every day.
A fashion van, I guess these things, fashion vans, wherever you brunch.
Yeah, interesting. Which regulations? That's the question for Mr. Mamdani and for any of these aspiring socialist candidates. Which ones are the ones you don't like? Let's talk about them. Let's talk about wins. I'll go quickly. I read a story in the Colorado Sun recently that for the first time in years made me excited about the local business community, which I feel like has been on its heels, feels like it's been kind of rough lately, not a lot of new energy. And there was this story about Danny Newman, the savior of old Denver institutions, who has turned his old warehouse in Rhino into a co-working space called ID 345. He's hosting meetups for like aspiring entrepreneurs. They're using AI to develop business plans together, like on the spot. It was like, damn, this is innovation at work. This is fresh, exciting energy, people meeting, gathering together, creating businesses that are going to create jobs for Denverites, that are going to attract people to this city. And it sounded like a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Good job, Danny.
So I'm gonna put a link to that in the show notes. I recommend everybody read it. This was exciting. A lot of organizations you might want to be a part of.
Yeah,
things are growing. Lots of new money, folks joining up, new energy. This is something the city needs.
Danny Newman has had criticisms for various things, but one thing he does do is keep his money here, and I think that's pretty awesome. I think it's really cool, and that he's continuing to try to innovate new things that involve the community in various ways. So,
Deep, you want to give us your win?
Yes. My win, despite what we just said about taco trucks and buskers, is I think Denver is back, baby. And I'm saying that from a personal experience I had. I had the immense privilege of hosting a 700 plus person conference for the South Asian Bar Association of North America. So we had 700.
Lawyers.
So attorneys, yeah. Not bar folks, not bar folks. But yeah, South Asian attorneys. And they were from North America, so Canada and the US. And actually, some people from Paris even flew in. So it was so we had people from Paris, New York, LA, like Texas, all across Canada, Toronto. We had all these people flying in, 700 people. And I've been planning this conference for 3 years. And if you remember 3 years ago what Denver was looking like when we started planning this conference. So I was a nervous wreck. We launched our welcome party at Lermer Square. It was at the Hyatt Regency. We used the Opera House for our event. So we were going all up and down Denver. I put out a food guide and a food list for this. And leading up to it, I'm like, oh man, I'm nervous. We're going to have all these people coming into Denver. And I'm not sure what they're going to think about my city. Like, I love this city. So I really wanted to do it. And my God, the reviews are in and they loved it.
Amazing.
Oh, good.
We had a team about 15 or 20 people from Colorado who were helping planning this. And every single time someone from Toronto came, like, this is the best Indian food I've ever had. And I looked at them in the face like, damn, shout out to my homies Krishna at Paradise Tavern for doing a great job with the Indian food. But it's fascinating to see people come from all over America, all over Canada, and be like, Denver's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, Lermer Square is beautiful. They said 16th Street was cool too, because they were walking up and down it.
They've mostly done a really good job. All the new art in the windows, the new icons. I think it looks really nice, and I think it's mostly working.
And I think,
from my experience,
we give ourselves a pretty hard time being from Denver, right? I think we've seen like the highs and lows of the city.
Sure.
And I do feel like we're in the precipice of a new high, right? We have some big challenges to do in terms of affordability, but I think we're getting there. People are still posting on Instagram and LinkedIn right now, just tagging me in things about like Denver's their new favorite city.
Fantastic.
I made a joke when people were coming in. I'm like, welcome to Denver, Colorado, the 17th best food city in America. And people were like, listen, Deep, it's probably top 10, it's probably top 5, which was crazy. But I was only sending people to the highlights. You know, I was like, go to Alma Fana.
You need to share your guide. You wrote a guide for these folks so they would see
you
your
did?
version of Denver and the restaurants you like, and we need to share that in the show notes. Are you okay with that?
bit.ly, so bit.ly.
We'll put it in our show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. No one's going to write it.
It's Deep Denver Guide.
Deep Denver.
It's pretty easy. You know?
That is pretty. Okay.
That's awesome.
But it was cool. I mean, people were like taking pictures of the blue bear, and it felt good.
Big blue animals.
Yeah.
People love them.
I mean, it helps to have those moments to be like, I do have pride for living here when other people outside of like my everyday experience see what we don't always see, you know?
Oh, the most hilarious thing is someone came to me like, you know, Denver has such good public transit. Like I took the train from the airport. I just looked them in the face like, we're really lucky.
And I'm like, where are you from?
I know. They were from Chicago.
Really?
I know. I was shocked. Because I mean, again, these are people coming for a conference, only here for 4 days and whatever.
They're only seeing the highlights. Airport, the bus, but
they were like, it's amazing. I'm like,
it's amazing.
I guess.
Yeah, man. We're so happy.
So
we're so
back.
proud of it.
We're back, Denver.
Bree, what's your win?
Bruce Brown. Back with the Nuggets.
Let's go.
This is a good win. This is a good win.
You knew that man was not really going to be gone for long. Every time I saw him outside of, like, after he was on the Nuggets, he was wearing a cowboy hat. I was like, this man loved our lifestyle, our vibe. We loved his vibe. And he's back on the Nuggets. I can't wait to watch him again. Sorry, MPJ's headed out.
No one's sorry about that.
I mean, I just feel bad for him as a person. I'm sure it's hard, but I'm so excited.
He gets paid a lot of money to
that's true. I guess he's wiping his tears with $100 bills. But Bruce Brown, he's back, baby.
It is great. This other guy they got from
Cam?
what is it? The Nets. People were talking online. He's saying he's good.
It's very exciting. Maybe Bruce Brown. You know, he has like that like Denver vibe. Maybe if he's a socialist, run for mayor in a little bit.
Oh, I was just thinking like maybe we could have him on the show.
We should try to. I bet he'd be great.
Oh, he seems like so much fun.
I would really like to meet him.
Maybe he's our end to the chicken tenders.
I know. I was just going to say you should start thinking about that.
All right. Okay.
I love it.
This is continue this running joke.
Okay. Well, that's the show. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have a happy 4th of July, and we'll be back on Monday.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
America.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were JD Lopez, Natalie Rivera, Olivia Jewel Love, and me, Paul Carolla. Kenna Harford and Peyton Garcia write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Abby Madigan runs our social media. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Additional music this week by Carl Christensen. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCastDenver, and tell Bruce Brown about us the next time you see him. You can sign up for that daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.
It just broke that the UMS is done.
What?
No regrets, no pity parties. Denver Underground Music Showcase is shutting down.
Wow.
I just saw this story. They're still going through this year, but they're done. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I kind of wish that was my fail. It seems like a big deal.